It is time for StreetWise with former chief of the New York City Sheriff's Department, former chief of the Seagate Police Department, retired New York City detective, Time Warner Public Access Media Award, Joe Franklin Super Excellence in Broadcasting Memory Lane Award, New York Veteran Police Association StreetWise Productions, host of StreetWise, Mr. Lou Tarano.
Good evening and welcome back to StreetWise. This evening we're going to be discussing something that's it seemed to come into surface now. For some reason, for many years, we just brushed it aside. It's an important issue and it's a serious concern. And actually, it may be close to diagnosing as a sort of mental stress. It is mental stress. We're going to talk about, with my guests, a lot of experience in this, post-traumatic stress disorder. Yeah, and my guest, by the way, not only does he talk the talk, he walked the walk. He walked from Buffalo to Bayshore to bring awareness and attention to this disease. I guess you can call it a disease. I know I call it a disease. And, you know, I had a clinical forensic psychologist as my guest, and we talked about, let me introduce my guest, Frank Romeo. How can I fit?
Hello, Lou. Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Yeah.
Nice introduction.
We started talking before. And
I know. We're just continuing the conversation.
That's correct. So again, Frank Romeo, by the way, he's a Vietnam hero vet. He was there doing a hot time, 68 to 70. It was a very hot time. And he's also, to this day, he's being treated with post-traumatic stress disorder, folks. So, you know, when I had Dr. John Huber as my guest on the show, he said, you know, Lou, you're a good example of, you're a telltale, and that you are yourself are suffering from post-traumatic stress disorder. And I says, I don't think so. He says, no, I can tell you how. He says, Lou, I'll tell you how. And he said, you're older than a senior citizen. He says, and look how active you are, because you're ducking it. He says, you are hiding from it.
You're not looking
and
back.
You're ducking it. So that's why you're keeping busy, but you do have it. And I says, oh, I'm sorry, I was my guest all these years. I didn't even know I had it.
That's the key. Keep busy.
Keep busy.
Moving. Keep moving forward.
What could be more busy than you walking from Buffalo to Bayshore, Long Island? First of all, we know you did a great walk. Where did the concept come from?
The concept, I've been teaching PTSD. I'm one of the longest living veterans diagnosed at 100% PTSD. It's 50 years for me. Before it was PTSD, when it was called shell shock, when it was called depressive neurosis, and a variety of everything got grouped into what was then known as Vietnam War syndrome. And so I've been diagnosed by the government at 100%. That's a rating the government gives a veteran or a soldier when they leave the military or they go to the Veterans Administration. So I've been dealing it for longer than any clinician practicing today at some level. For the first several decades, I was traumatized in the jungles of Southeast Asia. At 18 years old, we were living in the jungle, and through a series of events, I was in a firefight, and I was separated from my unit, and I was critically wounded.
Yeah.
And the nightmares, the rage, the outbursts of anger, things that we know today. Of course, back then it wasn't isolated. So today we have a handle on it. We know the symptoms, the diagnosis, the treatment for it, or what we think is the treatment for it. And I began showing signs of that still in the military, right after I was traumatized.
You know, we're talking about it more now. You know, recently this past year, I've never seen this in all my years in law enforcement and military as well. 10 New York City police officers committed suicide.
Right.
This year so
That's
far.
right.
The year's not over yet, by the way. So it's a little.
It's growing, and New York City is an example of the stress. On my walk, I worked with. That's what the patches are for.
I was going to mention that.
So every fire department, every police district between Buffalo, including New York City, Nassau, and Suffolk, advocated and worked with me on my walk. And I talked to some of the state troopers. I work with every barracks throughout the state. And some of the state troopers told me that they need treatment,
Sure.
but they won't come forward. It's the stigma.
It's the macho thing.
No, it's the stigma surrounding
you
mental
can't
health.
you can't have a police officer admit that he has
Right.
some kind of mental
So in
concerns.
essence, in close quarters, many state troopers came to me and said
Yeah.
they'll get treatment when they retire.
Yeah.
And so this is the stigma. This is something we have to work on. We're not going to get anywhere unless we deal with that stigma surrounding mental health. What do we
Yeah.
do with these policemen?
But another issue is they're not going to be reported also, especially in law enforcement.
Correct.
Only because when they retire, they won't be permitted to carry a firearm.
Correct.
So that's why they're not going to be.
Absolutely.
They're going to conceal that as well.
Absolutely. But
Now-
look what we have, a rash of 10 suicides.
Absolutely.
So
Yeah.
we have to find that fine line. We have to work this way and that way and
Yeah.
find that middle ground
Yeah.
where we can deal with it, we can talk about it openly and move forward.
Now, Frank Romeo, is it accurate? 22 military veterans are committing suicide a day? Is that-
22 a day, and it's a low rate. It's low because that is 22. I hate to use the word success rates.
Right.
That's 22 success suicides
boy.
a day. Now that doesn't count the veteran that's slowly drugging and drinking himself to
Correct.
death. That's the guy that actually put the gun to his head.
Yeah.
And for every one of those success, there are 25 attempts. It's staggering. So that number is even low. We don't really have a handle on that number, on how many veterans are suffering out there. We don't really have a handle on how many suicides are just, this close away
Yeah.
from being successful. 22 is confirmed.
That is confirmed. With law enforcement, more law enforcement officers throughout the country, by the way, die by suicide as opposed to having gun battles.
Correct.
As opposed to when
Correct.
the line of duty.
Correct.
It's suicide. It kills most police officers throughout
Yeah.
the country.
We have a mental health crisis in this country, whether it be law enforcement, whether it be veterans,
Sure.
whether it be gun violence. We have to address this, and it's part of what I've been doing. We have to talk out loud about mental health. We have to say the words out loud. We have to be open about and transparent about it. And we're going to have to find a way to work through this because it's getting increasingly worse. It's not getting better.
It's a lot of crime throughout the country, and a lot of them are saying, they're not really criminals. They have mental health issues. Do you find that to be factual? In other words, a lot of things happen because somebody has, as opposed to putting him in jail, they say, well, maybe he should be medically treated. What's your thoughts on that, Frank Romeo?
Well, that's a problem. Recently, twice now, I've been asked to address the Veterans Administration Benefits Department regionally. So I spoke to the people that actually sit down and determine what benefits a veteran gets regionally.
Yeah.
I did it in Buffalo. I did it in New York City. And so the basis of what I was trying to convey to them that were not numbers, were real people. And I know they're overworked, and that paperwork is piled up on their desk. But they have to understand there's a human element involved there. Now, that said, is the human element, is smart enough to use PTSD? We have to, and that's what you're getting at. Like, is it a criminal, or is that his defense is PTSD? And that's a very good question. Yeah. Where do we determine that?
Exactly.
Yeah, and so that was the gist of my presentation to the Veterans Administration, and it's a hard factor. When a veteran has no legs, it's easy.
Yeah,
you got 100%. Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah, there's no determination. But when a guy comes in there and tells you a story, is it a story, or is it factual? And that's very hard to do, and that's very hard to differentiate between the truth and not truth. And
why did you do this? Why did you, Frank Romeo, took this responsibility really to bring to bring awareness to this?
For 2 decades, I suffered the anger, the rage, broken family. I had a really difficult time for 2 decades. Drug and alcohol abuse, self-medicating. I had such a difficult time. There came a point in my life after 2 decades of doing that where PTSD was diagnosed, and finally there was something that made sense to me, and I began to embrace it as opposed to fighting it. And I talk to young veterans today as trying to embrace trying to work with their trauma as opposed to fighting it. Fighting it, you're not going to get anywhere. You can't win. And so when I finally learned to embrace it, I began to relive my experiences, and I began to create artwork as a form of a cathartic release of my emotions and what was going on inside me. For 2 decades, I had pushed it down inside. And I began to create this artwork, and it told a story. Each painting I made was a story that an experience I had, a traumatic event in my life. It had to do with the military. It had to do with war. And then I began to realize there were other people like me. There were other veterans throughout the country, throughout the world, that were creating artwork that was traumatically based.
Is that where Art of War comes in?
That's correct. And then it dawned on me, look what I have found. I collected their artwork throughout the country, throughout the world. I have artwork from all over in my collection. And then I realized what I had done. I had documented American history through art. But not only was I documenting American history, I was documenting the emotional history of our country. I was documenting the story of PTSD from its infancy, from the Vietnam War, as we know it today. I was documenting through artwork, and then I thought, wow, this is powerful.
Yeah.
And I took it upon myself. I didn't want any other young person to live through what I lived through. And I began traveling around the country teaching PTSD, and that was 30 years ago. I've been teaching PTSD for 30 years. I've been holding seminars and workshops and presentations, not just in New York State, outside of New York State, and in different parts of the country. And I've been teaching it for 30 years.
Well, I'm glad you mentioned that, to Frank Romeo. How can if people want your input, your help, your advice, or maybe even invite you to a lecture, also, if they want to contribute, because I know I know you're carrying.
You see the signs everywhere.
You're carrying the big expense yourself. I understand that. So let's do 2 things. Let's talk how people can help you, and let's talk how people can donate or fundraising for you, because you're almost like a one-man band.
I am,
as
I hate to use the phrase "I'm a one-man army."
Yes, I know.
I've been out there on my own for 30 years, and
that's why I mentioned it. So,
and that's why I started the walk to raise more awareness. And so I'm people donate. It's my own money or it's other people's money. I mean, I have no corporate sponsors, but I need help, and I've documented so many veterans in homeless shelters. I've documented in VA hospitals I have an Emmy Award-winning film crew, and we have a documentary. We need help to finish the film.
Let's talk about that. How can I help you?
Well, I need funds. I need anyone out there would like to contribute. We have a variety of gifts that are available. If you know of any corporate sponsor that would like to help me, and you're helping veterans, you're helping homeless veterans, you're helping PTSD, you're helping the suicide rate. It's all encompassing. My work has been going on for 30 years now, and so you could go to walkwithfrank.org, and you can donate, or you could contact me and ask me how you can donate. There it is. Walk with Frank. Of course, I'm Frank.
And they can have all of that stuff.
Wow.
If they don't.
Correct.
They'll get a shirt.
Correct.
A hat, and
yes.
What else do I get?
You get a hat. You get a
Wow.
Walk with Frank pin.
Oh, beautiful.
It's an enamel pin. You get a T-shirt.
A nice wristband.
Look at that.
And we support PTSD awareness. Walkwithfrank.org.
Let's see the
So
wristband, Frank.
Sure.
Because there are people watching this, and folks, there's a nice looking wristband, and it shows Walk with Frank. Very.
PTSD awareness on the other side.
Yes, exactly. Beautiful.
It's basically we are veterans are us, and
Yes.
so again, I've been on my own for 30 years, and there came that point where again, I'm an army of one, and I was reaching people, but I needed to reach more people.
Were you, Frank Romeo, were you homeless yourself?
No, I wasn't homeless.
Okay.
No, I was on the edge.
Right.
I had my difficulties. And
Yeah.
I had a very difficult time mentally, but I had a family behind me, and I put them through hell.
Yeah, I could imagine.
Yeah, it was very difficult, and that's the case with a lot of young veterans today. PTSD is contagious. When one person in the family has it, the rest of the family has it because they walk on eggshells. They can't do this, they can't do that. I mean, I get calls all the time from wives and parents, to help their children. They're grown men, but they go to work with guns in the trunk, and they have anger issues, and they have these guys are out there, and it's more than what you could possibly imagine that are out there.
So Frank Romeo, one man army. How are you winning? How are you winning your battle?
My friends call me Frank.
Frangie, how was that? How are you winning your battle, if you are?
My battle is continuous throughout my life. I still take medication after 50 years. I have reoccurring nightmares for 50 years.
Right.
That are horrendous.
Cops do that too, by the way.
Yeah. It's anyone who's been in that trauma situation.
Yeah.
My nightmares are reoccurring, so I take medication. Actually, it releases endorphins, so I still have I have happy dreams now. It's a combination of starts out traumatic and turns out happy.
Right.
And so I deal with that by also through my work.
Yes.
By helping others, by
Like
moving
keeping busy.
forward.
Yeah, like John Hubert tells me, after all these years, Lou, I know you were in 2 riots. He gives away my age, 64 riots up in Harlem, 68 in
Right.
Brooklyn. And he says, Lou, you have it. That's why like you, Frank, that's why we keep moving.
We keep moving.
Yeah.
Right.
Keep moving.
Yeah.
Walk from, how could you keep
Well,
moving?
we got
folks?
off the trail. We got off the trail to go to homeless shelters,
Yeah.
and I got a surprise for you tonight. We're going to speak with a homeless veteran tonight,
great.
right from the shelter. And
He's calling in?
Yeah.
Oh,
And
okay.
and so I've made a lot of friends along the way in the shelters. I've stayed in about 12 shelters on my walk. The longest was 2 weeks in one shelter. That was right here on Long Island, Beacon House. I think the crown jewel, let's call it, of veteran homeless shelters is Richard's House in Rochester, and that's where the call is going to come in tonight.
Oh, so these are special shelters just exclusively for homeless veterans?
Correct.
Oh.
These are veteran homeless shelters.
Wow.
And there are different types of shelters. There are different types of there's transitional homes. There's just get me off the street home.
Yeah.
Immediate care.
Sure.
There's transitional homes where a veteran has X amount of time to stay, let's say 2 years, and in that he has to be drug and alcohol free.
Yeah.
And he has to be working towards a goal, whether he's going to school or looking for a job, and that's the case. And we're going to find a little bit about that in a few minutes tonight.
Frank Romeo, let's give out your contact number, because there's a lot of veterans out there, and they hope they might see Frank and say, Frank, you're just what I'm looking for. And I'm sure you bumped into a lot of people on your trail, I should say, that people aren't aware.
Sure.
Yeah.
You can go. Anyone who wants to reach me, my
Yes.
contact, my phone number's on there. I return every phone call. I return every email and text message. It's walkwithfrank.org, and you can contact me anytime.
Yeah.
And I will answer you.
How can they send funds if somebody wants to make a contribution?
You can go to walkwithfrank.org. Right on
And
the
I'll tell you.
homepage, there's a donate. There's a page that you just get right on, and you can help me finish my documentary. And getting back to the documentary, throughout this walk, I have hundreds of hours of footage inside homeless shelters. I have an Emmy Award-winning documentary team, and they have stayed in the shelters with me. They have followed me throughout the state. It's almost unheard of to get a film crew inside a homeless shelter. I did it several times. It's even more impossible to get it inside VA hospitals, and I did that several times. The government doesn't want to show what's going on. I've interviewed veterans, wheelchair-bound for the rest of their life veterans, all kinds of injuries. So I have this information. It's a story of PTSD. It's my 50-year journey.
Yeah.
From its inception to its diagnosis and treatment today, over 50 years, and laced into it are all these stories of these wonderful stories of these veterans.
So, Frank Romeo, when you see these veterans with no limbs, right? You say, "How lucky are you?" Right?
Absolutely, and that's part of what what keeps me moving forward. The people I've left behind, the people that have committed suicide through
Yeah.
drug and alcohol abuse, the ones that have just shot themselves. I mean, I can't begin to compile the amount of people in my life that their lives have been wasted
Right.
through this mental illness and through this traumatic event. And again, you know, it's what we do here in this country. We send our children off to war, and my education programs that we'll get into is about preparing people. It's about having classes, about talking openly about mental health. And you know, it might help the police departments to have programs like this. But we're working on statewide programs in the education field, and I'm working with Albany. On my walk, I got out on the Senate floor and I got to address all
great.
our elected officials about mental health and about our veteran community. And they've embraced my work, and we're going to have a curriculum this year coming up in this year's budget.
Okay, you're gonna which budget, state or federal?
State.
State budget.
I can't bite off
good.
more than I can chew. I had
I
enough
know
time.
that.
I had enough
I
time
know
with New
that.
York State.
Well, you know, this is something that should go to Washington.
Well, if we could do this right here,
Yeah.
if we can get this passed this year, this education bill,
Yeah.
get it passed this year and have these programs in high schools, we could be an example for the rest of the country. New York State veterans could come together on the one banner like I'm proposing to do, and we could be an example for the rest of the country. We can talk about mental health. We could talk about suicide. We can talk about the
Yeah.
realities of our country. We don't talk about that. We teach, you know, the statistics and passing tests, but we don't, you know, not every student is going to be a scientist or a mathematician,
Yeah.
but every student will face reality. And how that student faces reality when they're traumatized, how they embrace it and how they learn from it is how they move forward.
Well, certain things we don't want to talk about.
No,
Certain things
no,
we want to
no.
keep low and
No.
not discuss.
My mom, my 4'8"
right?
little mom there, she would talk and she'd say, you know, Aunt Margaret has cancer. And I say, what? Ma, what? Cancer. She would whisper those words.
I know.
You know what I'm talking? Yeah,
And
that
like
was
I
the
said,
generation.
That's exactly right. It's a terrible thing not to even talk about, and to mention it.
We wouldn't even talk. Now we talk
Yeah.
about cancer openly.
Yeah.
Now we should treat mental health like we do physical health.
Right.
We should talk about it openly.
How do you get a veteran or law enforcement, because you're doing both, Frank, Romeo, how do you get them to fess up that they have this issue or they have this problem? That's in itself is a little battle. Speaking of battles.
That is the hardest thing, is to get, I know with the young veterans, get them to come forward.
Right.
Now, when we talk to my friend in the homeless shelter, you know, maybe that'll encourage someone
Yeah.
listening would say, wow, you know, maybe I'll seek help. Maybe I'll
Right.
come forward. We have to show by example. We just can't talk the talk. We need to
Yeah.
walk the walk, literally, and I don't like to make a pun of that because I
Right.
walked.
Well,
But literally,
Yeah.
literally, we have to, what we're doing in America is not working. That's my opinion. Okay, if what we're doing in America, we wouldn't have 22 suicides a day.
Right.
We wouldn't have gun violence. We wouldn't have rampant PTSD. We wouldn't have all these issues, homelessness. What we're doing is not working. We need to address this at the educational level.
Yeah, well, I don't want to get too political, but we have
That's
to...
not political.
No,
That's
no,
not a right or
no,
left answer.
well,
That's a that.
No,
that-
what I'm going to say is you have to focus on this country and our people first. That's what
Oh,
I
no
meant,
doubt.
As opposed
This is
to-
for them.
Yeah, this is, you know...
This is for them.
We got to take care of our home first. That's what I'm saying. As you know, wasting money again, I got to get a little political.
That's political.
Endless wars that, like the president said, we don't belong there. It's centuries and centuries. It's never going to end. So let's get the hell out of there. You know. And look at you, 18 years old. You got to go to Vietnam. What for? What for?
Well, look.
You know.
In
it's just
essence, the last time we fought for our homeland on
Yeah.
our soil was the Civil War.
That's
And
right.
since then, it's been an away game. And we send our children off to war for
That's right.
150 years, mentally unprepared. And now the bill has come due. We have a problem. We have a mental health crisis in this country that we need to talk about openly.
Yep. So walkwithfrank.org.
Walkwithfrank.org.
Okay.
You can find anything. Oh, I also have a trailer on the homepage about the documentary. So my team has put together. My documentary team has put together a wonderful trailer. It's about 4 minutes long.
Wow.
It's about the walk. It's about me. It's about my work. It's about my new curriculum, and that will be introduced at the Albany this coming legislative session. And so you can find anything you want, including donating, people,
Right.
including sending me some help. We need to finish this documentary. I need help. We are out there. I've done the heavy lifting,
Yeah.
and I've done the heavy lifting for 30 years now. And now I am begging people to help me and to get involved. And I need funds to complete my documentary. Please help me.
Absolutely. Walk with Frank, folks. .org. And let me tell you, this is, I know exactly what Frank Romeo is talking about, because I work with guys that had issues and they wouldn't talk about it. They conceal it or hide it. And do you find now that, I know we talked about how hard it is for someone to admit that he has some type of mental issue, but do you find now what you're doing or the people are doing that's is sort of bringing people to come forward?
Yes, absolutely. So when I do my lectures and I do my seminars, and I've been doing this for a very long time, I introduce myself as having a mental illness.
Whoa.
I suffer
Heavy.
from PTSD.
Heavy.
Yes. And so if I could say it here in front of you, and you'd be surprised that after the lectures are over and after the workshops are over in private, how many people come to me and share their stories. And they're heartbreaking. But they feel comfortable because they've heard someone else say,
Absolutely.
I have a mental illness or I have a condition that I need to learn how to deal with. And the sooner we wrap our minds around this and the sooner we embrace it and learn how to live with it, is the sooner we're going to move
You know, I
forward.
wish we would have thought, I say we thought of it collectively, thought of this years ago, because they had these groups, alcoholic AAA groups, and they start off, hi, my name is Joe Blow, I'm a alcoholic.
Right.
So you're doing that now, except you're, what
It's
you're
mental
saying,
health.
You're saying mental health.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
It's-
And I've gotten congressmen and senators and assemblymen all over the state advocating for me and pushing. So on my walk across the state, I spoke at 24 high schools, and I presented a curriculum. So I've developed a curriculum. It's the first curriculum of its kind in this country. It's called The Experience of the American Soldier. And it's a refocus of attention in American history and government classes in high school, 11th to 12th grade. Spend less time on the battle. Students don't care how many people died in Tet Offensive of '68. But you bring in me, or you bring in a survivor of the battle. Now you have living history, and we have to utilize living history. In olden days, people move forward. By the elders teaching the youngins about the realities of their world. But we don't utilize that in this country. We have living history in this country that is just being wasted.
Well, I think do we have a call coming in?
I'm expecting a call.
Oh, okay.
We're going to make a call.
We're going to make a call to Doc, who is a homeless veteran. Is that correct?
Correct. He lives in Richard's house. Let me give you a little prelude to Richard's house. So Richard's house is in Rochester, New York. And on my visit there, they took me in. They took my camera crew.
It's a shelter we're talking about.
It's a
Richard's
shelter.
house. Veteran shelter.
Yes. And 30 men live.
Hello.
Oh, go ahead. Take care.
30 men live in Richard's house, and they live and work together.
You can pick up the guy. I think I got your call on there now, right?
Doc?
Yeah,
Oh,
Are you there, Doc?
Tell him to turn his radio down.
I am.
Turn your radio down.
Doc, you're on the air, by the way, with Frank Romeo and Lou Tolano learning something.
How you been, my friend?
Hey, I'm doing well. I was just watching you. It's really good to see you, my friend.
Thank you.
Oh,
Thank
nice.
you. It's
Good.
very nice to hear your voice. How are the boys there? The men there?
The transition has gone very well for some, and for others, they've gone their own way. But everybody's doing well right now in the house. It's a good, safe environment, and everybody's doing the right thing.
Nice. I'd like you to share, if you would. Well, you can talk about anything you like, really. You're the caller. But what life is like in there, inside Richard's house. Let me just say that Richard's house is in Rochester, New York, and it houses approximately 30 men. And me and my film crew and my team were guests there for dinner. We had a wonderful dinner, and then I spent the night there, and with some of the veterans there, and we captured a lot of their stories that we're going to get into later on in the documentary.
Is that where you met Doc?
That's where I met Doc.
Okay,
and, go ahead, Doc.
Now, is this
ahead.
families or just single guys?
Just single guys.
It's all single guys, no families. Okay.
You're on, Doc.
All right. Well, first of all, Mr. Tolano, thank you for your service.
My name is Lou.
Police
My name
department.
is Lou, Doc.
I really, I have a very big heart for. I'm also a firefighter by trade as well, and so a little bit about my history, my story. I'm originally from New Hampshire, and got into a little bit of a situation with a DWI or two, and came to New York with a ex-girlfriend. That's how I found myself in New York. I did some service, 3 services actually, Coast Guard, Air Force, and Army. I ended up being a flight medic in about 3 theaters of combat, Iraq, Bosnia, and Panama. Through that's where I acquired my PTSD. And, I've been listening to Frank, and I also spoke with him directly, and we developed a brotherhood, a kinship. He went through a lot of things that I'm going through right now, or I'm trying to deal with right now, and that's owning my disease process.
Right.
And that's mental health as well as alcoholism. Thankfully, Frank is a role model. What he did with this whole walk, we do get occasionally people coming in and saying, "Hey, thanks," but they don't, they talk the talk, but they don't walk the walk.
Yeah.
Pardon the tongue. He's an amazing individual. He stayed with us. He got to know each and every one of the individuals here. You can tell a lot of people have stories, but he actually listened to us, and it was great to have him. And what he's doing is amazing. I'm very lucky to be able to sit down with him and talk with him.
Now,
I'm also very lucky to be in the situation I'm in.
If he didn't stop by, you wouldn't know Frank Romeo, correct, Doc? If he didn't stop by your shelter where you are and your guys.
That's correct.
So that
like I said, I'm not a New Yorker.
Right.
I came here.
Good for you. Good for you.
I even ate the meatloaf.
Right? That was some good chow. I'll tell you what, that's one thing we don't do. We got a good roof over our head. We got programs like you wouldn't believe, and we've got great chow.
Doc,
and we got great brotherhood.
share where the
Yes.
food. Share where the food comes from. Tell mostly the bulk of it where it comes from.
Well, see, part of being a resident here, I was also a resident advisor, and one of those things is to orientate guys. So I always tell them, you'll never go hungry, and you'll never have to worry about anything. We get donations. This place runs on total donations, and it's anywhere from a local veteran, a local family, whatever, giving $50 here, $100 there. But then we got corporate, and we have huge backing from everybody. I've never seen the amount of food come in here, especially around the holidays. We got the holidays coming up. We will not want for anything. Along with that, the programs here are amazing. We get to do recreation. I did golfing all summer. Did a few corporate golfing things. I'm very lucky. I also started school. I'm going for my nursing degree. I also work at a hospital local in the area to try to get back into medicine. I was nervous about this because of my PTSD diagnosis, but they realized that the VA's got great therapy programs up here. It's actually better than New Hampshire, to be honest with you. And there's just so many opportunities, and there's a lot of guys here that are taking advantage of the opportunities, and it's fantastic.
It's amazing. So where would you be if it wasn't for places like the shelter that you're in? Where would these veterans be, Doc or Frank? They'd be out on the street. A lot of veterans are still out on the street now, right, Doc? There are a lot of homeless veterans out living in the streets.
Well, what happened with me was after an ex-girlfriend and I parted our separate ways, I lived in my car for about a month and a half in New York, the Woodstock area. And I hadn't had any law enforcement issues until one day, bingo, got a couple of DWIs, and they were bad DWIs. So where I would be right now is I'd probably be dead, to be honest with you, because my disease process was at that point where I was getting. I'm not a spring chicken anymore. I was getting on, and the alcoholism was taking over. And my reason for alcoholism, I believe, one of them was to deal with the PTSD, self-medication.
Right.
I wasn't seeking out the VA help because I didn't want to be looked upon as being broken.
Yeah.
And now I have to own that and fix it.
You have to accept it.
And, on that point, Lou and I touched on that point before about veterans, about police officers coming forward and seeking that and taking that first step. I know I struggled with it for decades, and finally came to terms with it. And taking that first step. You want to touch on that, Doc? I mean, what's it like to take that first step and say, "Hey, I got an issue. I need help. I'm broken."
Well, the old saying of humble pie, right? Well, we eat a lot of it around here.
Yeah.
You have to own your humility, and you have to say, "Hey, I'm broken. Fix me," or "I need to fix myself."
Right.
You have to own your own accountability. And if you don't, then you're just going to go back and use. It's a proven fact. You have to own what you've done in the past, and this is called transition housing for a reason. Actually, the way they put it here is you come here and you do a 180. Obviously, if you do a 360, you're all the way back around, but you do a 180. You're supposed to get rid of all of your bad habits, all of your bad characteristics, all those things, and start anew. Now, that doesn't mean that you lose what you were before, because like Frank has touched upon, I do go to AA occasionally, and I actually kind of buck the system. I don't go in there and say, "Hey, I'm Doc, I'm an alcoholic." I say, "I'm a recovering alcoholic, but I'm also a great father, and I'm also an accomplished veteran, and I'm going on with my life." You have to have that positive attitude.
Beautiful.
So there's a balance there. There's a balance with humility and the good in you too. I mean, you have to you have to keep in your mind. I know a lot of people I talk to, they're so down and they've been beaten up so much and pushed down so much. It's they have to be reminded that they're good. There's good in everything. There's good, and they have to build on that. And then comes the humility. You can't. I believe you just can't. Say I'm broken. There's something good about me, even though I'm broken, and you have to build on that.
So you guys up there,
and that's one thing that I found. If you don't do that, then you're destined to fail again and again and again.
Wow.
Right.
So you work off each other. That's what I was going to say. You help each other with the struggle that you guys are going through. So you find
that's a big part is also like we have the brotherhood within the house.
Going to say that,
but then we also I go to school full time, and I also have a job full time. So I rely upon and a lot of the people at school. I'm in a veterans club at school. A lot of the guys know where we've been together, and you can veterans. It's we cover our sixes. We have to.
Right.
Not to say civilians are bad, but we know where we've been and where we're going, and that's very important.
Yeah, and you actually like a special group because these guys seen some like there was a movie called Hell and Back, and years ago, and you guys actually that's what you guys are doing,
Yeah.
And it's just and it happened to be a military movie as well, and it talked about. Even years ago, it had to do with World War II, so nothing's really changed too much.
Oh no, and that's part of the curriculum. The propensity of Americans to put themselves in harm's way.
Yeah.
Policies change, administrations change, but we as veterans, have the propensity to put ourselves in harm's way.
Yeah.
And why is that throughout history? Why do we do that? And I got through the wind that Jake had left. Is Jake on a good route when he left? On an up note? Yeah,
Jake, he sought an alternative method to pursuing his future. So hopefully he is doing well, and we don't have much contact with him.
Okay,
that's the sad part.
Yes.
There are people that don't succeed because they don't want to, or because their hurdles are too high.
Yeah.
I look at my success as I need to succeed, or I won't be around. I've got two incredible kids, and a
Beautiful.
great girlfriend now. And if I keep on going where I'm going, then life is going to
That's
be
right.
good for me.
We got a good goal.
Otherwise, I'll go back to the old way.
That's
right.
awesome. That's
Yeah.
awesome. That's
So-
great. My film crew says hi. Mike and
Oh, hello.
Nadine and Mike and Nadine Masiello and Miller, and they all say hi to you. And
Well, everybody that's here is basically all new guys.
Okay.
None of them. They've actually. When I discussed this, I found out that Frank was back safe, not out in the street walking around
Yeah,
like
right.
crazy man, getting the
That's
job
good
done.
news. That's-
I was asking around, and the only person that said hello that knew you was Brian, and he's actually going back to school. He's going back to college because we motivate each other. We have to.
Great.
That's
And
great.
he's like, hey, Doc, if you can do it, I can do it. And
Yeah.
he's going
That's
back.
what you have to look
and
at.
that's what we got to do.
There you go.
Yeah, that's
You
what I
know?
meant. You work off each other.
Yeah, and it really
That's-
works.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yep. And I didn't get run over crossing the GW Bridge.
Wow.
And so I made it home. Thank you very much. You guys are on the trailer. If you get a chance, go on the website, walkwithfrank.org.
All right.
Watch the trailer to the movie, and
Yep.
there's some scenes there from inside Richard's house.
Right. And Doc, thank you. Thank you. It was good. Great talking
Oh
to
no,
you.
thank you very much. I
we'll
keep the red line, the blue line very close to my heart as well
great.
as the green line. And
Yes.
Frank, got a question for you. Did you get your dust off hat?
That was my next. I was going to say thank you for the dust-off hat. For those of you who don't
right.
know, a dust-off, which happened to me after I got critically wounded, the helicopter that they put me on is called a dust-off. It's named after a famous pilot, Dusty Baker, and they nicknamed it Dust-Off. So since Vietnam, since 1968, I believe they continually call it dust off. So I got home from my walk, and there was boxes of mail. I was gone so long, and boxes, and there was one nice little package there, and it was a dust off hat from my friend Doc.
So Doc, we got to say goodnight.
Thank you so much, Doc.
And thanks for calling. God bless and good luck with your new girlfriend and your kids.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Lou. And you guys have a great night.
Thank you.
Thanks for having me on the show.
Talk to you
Thanks,
soon.
Doc.
Thanks, Doc. Bye.
Bye.
Interesting. Yeah. Good. Well, that's good. See, it makes you feel good, right? There's people that making it, And,
Oh, yeah,
So you were
they're
great
happy.
help. Just walking into the shelter, I can tell by talking to Doc guys. Somebody you impress them, you help, and it gives them another lift, extra lift.
It's someone cares,
Yeah.
someone, and it's not like I walked,
Right.
like here I am. I'm here. I'm here because I care. I'm here. I've been doing this for 30 years. And so I've taken the time to, I didn't walk every inch of every mile, but I raised enough. I was on the front cover of every newspaper
Yeah.
between Buffalo and Newsday. I was on the front page of
Right.
New York Newsday. And so, because I've taken that to the next level. I care about it enough. And guys like Doc there, they see that.
Yeah.
And it inspires them. It gives
hear
them.
that. I can hear
You
it.
could hear it in his voice. I mean,
Yeah.
it's an upbeat guy. He's an awesome person,
Yeah.
and he's so articulate, as you can tell,
Yes.
and he's so intelligent, and he's got himself uplifted. He's going back to school. He's going to be a nurse, and so that's a wonderful thing than to be broken, like you
Yes,
said,
absolutely.
and to admit you were broken.
So,
and
well, you help them to fix broken people, by the way, Frank Romeo.
well,
That is great. So I got to talk about these. You're wearing all these. You touched on it early about the police patches that you
Yeah,
have.
I've got. I know, and most of them are stapled on, so a few pop
well,
off. But
you could turn a little bit and they could probably see it toward
So-
the camera. They could see.
These were actually given to me on my walk, and I'll tell you what was a
Yeah.
cool one: the Honor Flight. Do you know what the Honor Flight is?
No,
The Honor Flight is an organization that takes mostly World War II veterans that
Wow.
would never get to see their memorial in Washington.
Wow.
And most of them are in wheelchairs. And the airlines, the pilots, the crew, the hotels, and the banquet that they're going to have in Washington, D.C. is all free. And they sign up for it. So when I walked through Westchester at White Plains Airport, I was honored to lead this group of about 40 World War II, mostly in wheelchair veterans, out onto the tarmac to go to their they would never see their own memorial in
Imagine
Washington,
that.
D.C.,
Imagine
and it's
that.
called the Honor Flight. And they
Yeah.
do this periodically throughout the country. And I was honored to leave them out on the tarmac.
Wow.
So it's things like that that I hold precious. The diving team, this is the state troopers of New York State. John Nogin was the director of the diving team. The New York State troopers are responsible for bringing up Flight 800 off of Mauritius.
Yes, Long Island.
They did
The
it.
island, yeah.
This organization right here. So I have New York City. I have any number of.
Fire department.
I
police
got it all.
department.
I got it all.
And you made a lot of friends too, besides the
I made
patches
so many friends.
along the way. When is the documentary coming out, Frank?
The documentary will come out when I raise enough funds. Once
Oh.
again, we're back on fundraising. I'm glad you asked me.
Yeah.
I need funds to finish my documentary. I've raised enough funds to pay for the walk. So I did that out of my own expenses, my own money, and modest donations have paid for the documentary team for 3.5 months to follow me throughout New York State. And that was quite a bill. Now I have this footage that America needs to see. And this is going to be a hallmark movie, and not because it's my movie. It's something that's never been done before. This is footage inside shelters. This is the story of PTSD, my 50-year journey with PTSD from its inception, when it was called shell shock, till its worldwide diagnosis and treatment today. Every day, PTSD is in the news. This is a 50-year journey on this documentary.
Yeah.
So when I raise enough funds for post-production, we will have a documentary that will be used in education throughout New York State as part of the new education program and my new curriculum. It's advocated. So I have a lot of elected officials pushing for this. But we need the funds. And everyone out there, please help me.
Walkwithfrank.org.
Walkwithfrank.org. It's right on the homepage.
And,
don't be shy. I'm out there. I'm doing the heavy lifting. All you need to do is just help me out a little bit.
A little bit. You need a lot of bit. You need.
A lot of bit. All right.
You
A
know?
lot of bit.
Let's give the audience a little tease. The documentary takes you into different various shelters from Buffalo
Yeah.
to Bayshore, Long Island.
Takes you on a journey.
And so you have what's going on in these various veteran
Guys like Doc,
shelters.
interviews
Like
with Doc. Well, he really gets into the
So-
nuts and bolts of
So you
what
got
he went
people
through.
like Doc on that you've interviewed yourself
Yeah.
that are on this documentary.
Yeah.
And they tell you their stories.
Yes.
Right.
Yes. Yeah, they tell me a story. I have footage inside VA hospitals with veterans that are wheelchair bound,
Right.
young men, young
Yeah.
people that are wheelchair bound for the rest of their life.
Oh.
You know.
Oh, well, I doubt I know. Yes. Okay. You have them in the documentary as well? You interview
Yes,
them?
they're in the trailer. Look
They're
on
in
the
the trailer.
Go,
Okay,
if
the
you
tra-
want to see the trailer to the movie and the quality of our production team,
Yeah.
go to walkwithfrank.org. The trailer for the movie is right on the homepage.
Wow.
It's right next to the donate button.
Right next. Very good.
What's coming up, Frank? We have
Yeah, you got an event? I was going to ask you
we
that.
have a Jets event. We have a festival.
Yes, so
We got an audience here, and they're helping us with
Yes,
some of
thank
the
you.
things that it's going to help Frank.
and so for Veterans Day weekend,
Yeah.
on the 9th, I will be speaking at a thing called Live to Inspire Festival. These are famous people that are going to be telling their stories.
Wow.
And it's in the Knockdown Center in Maspeth, New York. It's a big arts venue. And we're going to have music. We're going to have a lot of speaking people that will inspire you.
Yeah.
I will be representing the veteran community for Veterans Day. And I'll be out there and I'll speak a few words on behalf of our veteran community. I'll talk about my work and we'll inspire some people. It's called Live to Inspire Festival, and it's November 9th. On November 10th, I'll be out at halftime. I'll be out on the field during the Jet Giant game. And there'll
great.
be, thank you, and there'll be a gigantic American flag out there, and so I will be a guest of the Jets for breakfast.
That's going to be a tough because how do we do that? It's going to be the only game where they both lose.
Well, you know,
We got
when it's
losers
when
on
it's the
both
Jets,
sides.
they have pictures of Joe Namath,
Of course.
and then when it's the Giants, they turn the picture around and it's Phil Simms, you know. So
I know it's a toss of a coin.
yeah, so I'm a guest of the Jets,
great.
and I'm looking forward to that. That'll be
Oh,
fun.
good.
Yeah.
Any outstanding people on your trailer? Well, it's going to be on your documentary.
Yes, there'll be a lot of elected officials that
okay.
that have. I got to speak to our Senate in Albany.
Oh,
I actually
mentioned
Skyped
that.
in students taking my new curriculum right into the Senate chamber, and I let the students, as part of my education program, I let the students ask the elected officials questions. And the elected officials would ask the students questions
Right.
about my curriculum, the experience of the American soldier. And
Yeah.
then I got to address the senators and the assemblymen. And that was inspiring for myself to have people listen to me.
Yeah.
You know, after 30 years of being flying under the radar,
Yeah.
people are now paying attention. And when we talk about PTSD, I've been doing it for 30 years.
Wow.
I've been doing it before it was fashionable. I've been out there in the trenches, teaching it, talking about it, educating people about it, and sharing experiences
Yeah.
for 30 years. It's only in the last couple of years that we have all this PTSD.
That's right.
In the last decade.
Well, of course, of people like you,
Well,
truthfully.
you know, I'm still going strong. You know, I'm 70 now, and I still get out there and do my walking and advocating, and we can't drop the ball on this.
Yeah.
Mental health is an issue that we need to talk about, whether it be veterans or police officers. This is an issue we need to talk about at an educational level before the fact and not after.
Yeah, and you can't walk alone. You can't not walk alone,
No.
folks. So
No.
you walk with Frank.
Walk with Frank.
Yeah.
Walkwithfrank.org. Don't let me do this alone.
What do we have
So
coming up at
what's your events? You got any other events coming up?
Yes,
Promoting
yes.
your,
December
your,
2nd, we're showcasing the curriculum at Bayshore High School.
Okay.
We have the Senate Committee on Education coming to actually view my curriculum for themselves.
Do you have your schedule online when they go on Walk with Frank with your upcoming events?
I put it online on walkwithfrank.org
Right.
and on Facebook. So we're on Twitter, we're
Yeah.
on Instagram. A lot goes into Facebook. We have a large following on Facebook, and anyone that just wants to even have a conversation with me or have some input.
Sure.
It's walkwithfrank.org, and it's right next to the donate button.
Do you make sort of someone if somebody wants to say sort of stay low key and have a one-to-one with you, as opposed to going to a meeting and it, you know?
Sure, you know
you do that also? 'Cause
I would do that. I'm not.
yeah.
I'm not licensed. I only have experience, and
Right.
my experience is probably
Well,
worth more than
Absolutely.
the doctor license.
I believe that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, you know, but I am in touch with countless organizations that have reached
Oh,
out to
great.
me. So if you need counseling, please contact me. I'll direct you.
Yeah.
If you need representation in court, please contact me.
Oh, great.
If you are a veteran that wants to file a case or has been turned down for a case, I have representation for you.
Oh, great.
So I have it all. This is Veterans Are Us. I've been doing this so long that I can't. People just reach out to me, and I can help you in one way or another.
Okay, let's talk about you. How are you doing yourself, Frank Romeo? Yourself. We talked about everybody else. How are you coping? You know, I know like Dr. John Huber, I can't forget his name, who's a clinical forensic psychologist. He analyzed me.
Yeah.
And, you know, so I'm analyzing you. How are you doing?
I struggle.
yourself?
And I put myself out there.
Right.
And I'll be honest with you, hearing the stories of some of these veterans is
Right.
heartbreaking for me. I know what they're going through. I know the times I had, and you know, I get teary-eyed just thinking about it. And I struggle because I'm living their, you know, I'm taking their pain. You know, I'm absorbing their pain, and I'm reliving my own experiences, and I do it on a daily basis. And again, I still have the nightmares. So I'm doing well. I'm moving forward. I'm healthy, which is, you know, we do that.
not good.
The old guys do that.
That's true.
I'm healthy. I'm moving forward, but I'm in touch with myself.
You're healthy. You know why? Look where you're training. You're working out at BCBA Boxing
There you go.
Academy. Come on, with Ray
BCBA.
Bettinelli.
All about Tuesday.
Yes, that's why you keep in
Tuesday
shape
and
with-
Thursdays, we have
Yeah.
and Walk with Frank is partnered up with BCBA Boxing
Yes,
in
absolutely.
Copeg, And we have a Patriot boxing team. Any veteran, first of all, any training you want, whether you want to lose weight or you just want to get
Why are you looking at Ray when you say that?
I
Go
know.
ahead.
And or you just want to train, or you just want to hit the heavy bag when that PTSD
Absolutely.
starts
Oh.
to build up inside.
Yes, very good.
Rather than hit someone, you just come down. All veterans are free in this gym.
Oh, great.
And Walk with Frank and Ray Bettinelli, my friend,
Right.
and Walk with Frank team member, and I have worked together for many, many years. All veterans are free. We have a Patriot boxing team. Any veteran wants to come down and work out, no charge. It's free.
Absolutely.
And that's on Ray.
That's, yeah, I know. He's
He'll even buy you a bottle of water.
Well,
He gave us
Give him
these
a bottle
waters
of
here
water.
today.
Yeah, I know that. No, I gave him a couple of bucks for it. No.
He gets cranky, though, if you don't bring him a bag of pretzels or
I-
chips
I
or
thought
something.
it was bourbon. Frank Romeo, we just run out of time.
Okay.
Yeah. My guest, Frank Romeo, Vietnam veteran hero, by the way, folks, and he is a hero, and he's still a hero. So walk with Frank, please. Frank needs a lot of friends to hold his hand and help him walk, even though he's physically in good shape. Frank Romeo, thanks for being a guest on Streetwise, and good luck in what you're doing.
Thank you, Lou. I appreciate it.
And this is Lou Talano, and I'll catch you later.